Do you remember in Black Panther when Queen Ramonda told the Black Panther, show them who you are? We're going to talk all about showing people who you are as Black women. Welcome to the Black Women Amplified YouTube page. I am Monica Wisdom, the host and producer of the Black Women Amplified podcast, as well as the founder and creator of Black Women Amplified. You can check us out at blackwomenamplified.com. Also, make sure that you subscribe to the page and set your notification so that you are notified when we go live. Today is all about unlocking your story. Why am I inspired by this? I was going in a whole different direction. But one thing that I realized is that through this whole political campaign, people often said they did not know who Kamala Harris was. Who is this woman? And what I realized is that although she had written a memoir, excuse me, I have my notes out, although she had written a memoir and although she is doing her job, did all of her jobs, all the jobs in a great way, people still said it wasn't enough information. So, what I understand is that we as Black women don't often tell our stories. We don't often allow people to know who we are from beginning to end. We like to, especially Gen X women, we like to do our work and do our thing in private. We're very private, we're very introverted. We keep to ourselves and we just do what we do. But I felt it was important that we set the groundwork for our futures to tell people who we are. Not all the things. You still have your private moments, not all the things, but the things that build connection, community, and allow you to become an expert in who you are. Because in this era, especially the era of AI, it's not just about people knowing what we do, it's about people knowing who we are. So I really appreciate that reminder of from the Black Panther movie, show them who you are. And it's not just a statement, but it's a call to action. It's about letting people know who you are and controlling your narrative so other people can stop telling us who we are. Often there are misconceptions, there are stereotypes that people have about who they think Black women are. But the truth is, we're not a monolith. We all come from different circumstances and different situations. And in order for people to really know that, we have to flood the waves with our stories. And I know often we don't feel worthy or safe, but we'll get into that later. But here's the thing, the power of a story. Let's just talk about that from the beginning. There's a woman named Fawn Weaver who has put out a whiskey company called Uncle Nestor's. Uncle Nestor was a whiskey distiller. He created the technique of creating whiskey that is sold under the name of uh, Jack Daniel's whiskey. I don't drink whiskey, so I have to get all the names right. But Jack Daniel's whiskey. Well, she discovered that his recipe came from a man named Uncle Nestor. And she found that from a photograph. She saw the photograph, was intrigued, and then she went and found out the story behind the photograph. And the story was the story of Uncle Nestor. So not only did she find his story and she purchased his recipe and she um, bought the land that he worked on and created the recipe for Jack Daniels. And so she not only told his story, but she built an entire brand around his story and she named the product after him. So when you see Uncle Nestor's, you don't know about Fawn Weaver. She talks about herself and the story of creating this brand, but the product leads with the story first. And you see that all across the people who are some of our greatest leaders put their stories out before you even knew who they were. Barack Obama wrote his memoir before he ever ran for senator. So he put his story out, he controlled his narrative. And that's an option for all of us to do, whether you want to tell your story, whether you want to be a writer, a podcaster, or you want to become a author. or just an expert in your field, a thought leader. Those are story first perspectives, because oftentimes we want to tell people what to do, but people are not going to buy from you. People are not going to trust you unless they know who you are. And how people get to know you is when you share your story. So Uncle Nestor was a powerful thing for Fawn Weaver to just happen by. And she just went for it and telling his story over and over again to building a $1 billion liquor company. Now she's going into tequila and into cognac with her story. And she's even written a best New York Times bestselling book called Love and Whiskey. And my own personal story, when I found out how important stories were, is I was dating this guy who I absolutely loved. I still love him. And one day we were talking, we'd been dating for several years, and he looked at me and said, "You know what, Monica? I don't really know. I feel like I don't know all of you. I really don't know who you are." And I thought I had been sharing everything with this man because we were so close. But what I realized is there's parts of my story I never shared with him. So we sat down and I shared those parts with him. If you listen to the podcast, I've told that story and over again. So you can check it out there. But and I was scared. I was really scared to share my story because I felt like, oh my God, is he gonna reject me? I felt so much shame around my story, my story of my younger days. Was he going to reject me? Was he going to break up with me? What was going to happen? I did not know. And so that's what terrified me most. And so when I finally sat down with him, I called him up and said, we need to talk. He was like, oh no, he just thought it was one of my moments again. You know how we are with our men. We have those moments. I need to talk to you. But we had the most incredible conversation. I shared with him everything. And it was the most beautiful moment we had had in a relationship, and we became, even though we're not together anymore, at that time our relationship became much stronger, and me sharing my full story allowed him to truly see who I am and to see all the things about me that really mattered. And so I really feel like storytelling is very important to our lives, to our businesses, to our relationships. And not only in telling our story do we get to see how the other world sees us, but we get to see ourselves in a whole new way. So the power of telling your story is really transformational from a two-way street, not just the person you're sharing with it, but for yourself. Because, oh my God, when you're writing about yourself, you get to go through all the memories, the good and the bad, and you get to see who you are, and you get to understand more about yourself, all the things that you've gone through. You get to examine them, you get to look at them, you get to celebrate moments that you forgot to celebrate. You get to recalibrate some moments you forgot about, and you get to release some things that are no longer serving you. So it's important that we understand the power of our story, that it's not just about telling people who you are, but it's about transforming ourselves. And when you share that with others, um, it builds connection and it builds community. And like with Fawn Weaver, it can build $1 billion brand. Oprah built $1 billion brand telling her story. Every week, she told pieces of herself that people connected with. And there are other people who've done the same thing. When Michelle Obama wrote Becoming, a best-selling book, she told her story. So it's not just about becoming an author and a best-selling author. It's about really sitting down and understanding who we are and sharing who we are with confidence. And that's what builds connection. We're always looking for connection, especially now that we're walking into this high-tech world of AI, and things are changing, and people want um to know that people are real. At the end of the day, we want to know that people are real. They have real problems just like we do, no matter what your socioeconomics, no matter how much money you make or how much power you're perceived to have. Have you been through some stuff? That's essentially what people want to know is, have you been through some stuff? And, it's a thing where when we get deep into the understanding of storytelling, it's everywhere, whether it's a commercial, whether it's a moment between you and your child that you tell later, whether it's a memory that you share about your grandparents, the stories are always there. We pass down stories from elders and ancestors, and everywhere we look, there's a story. And the important thing is that you tell it with confidence, you tell it with honesty, and you tell it with authenticity. I was recently on a podcast called Shaping Freedom with Lucienne Basquiat, and I told so much of my story I had never shared before. I felt so comfortable with her that I told things that I never told publicly. And when I finished it, I thought, and I don't even know why I shared it. She asked a question, and in my head, I was like, just answer the question. Just answer the question. Finally, just answer the question. So I did, and it was such a freeing moment not to be burdened with the story surrounding my mother's death. And it was just like, it's in the public now. Not only is it in the public, it's in the mass public. It's not something that is private anymore. It's out there in the world. And it's so interesting because sharing it, I had family members that didn't even know the full story. And so my cousin called me and we had a long conversation. And I finally told her um, the circumstances surrounding my mom's death. And I told her that I'm done talking about it. If she didn't know how her cousin passed, then that's on her. But sharing my story, sharing my story and being free with it allowed me to set boundaries with myself because I am not going to be re-traumatized um, out of other people's curiosity. So it's important that when we tell our story, we know what our boundaries are and what our standards are, because you don't have to tell everything to be effective in your storytelling. And that's why it's crucial to learn how to tell your story properly, especially when you're in public forum on social media. If you're giving a speech, a TED talk, you want to be able to give your story, leave a great memory with people, and to also really just sit down and be yourself, but in a way that's powerful and impactful. And that's why I created a course called the Power Story Formula that I'll be releasing pretty soon. But it's important that we not only share a story in a powerful way, but in a way where we can show our power, right? That we can connect in a powerful way and make impact, but do it in a way that we are still intact, that we're not falling apart. So, I just wanted to say that even in this small moment that we have together, sharing a story, there's three ways that we can share it. There's three steps to sharing it that is truly authentic, and it's a way that it's a simple technique that you can do with however you tell your story, however you choose to tell it, whether you're writing your website or you're writing an article or you're being interviewed. You want to be able to craft a story that is simple, concise, and truly authentic. And the three ways that first thing you want to do is you want to reflect over your story, because we have so many in our lives. And I know I keep saying story, but we have so many situations that have happened in our lives. And I always tell people, tell the story that you're healed from. Tell the story that there's an ending to the story, because a great story always has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And if you're still in the middle of it, you have to be able to tell it from a place of power, especially if you're being viewed as an expert in the field, or that you are going for a thought leadership positioning in your career, or if you're a leader. You don't want to show people everything. Being authentic is not about telling all the details and all the things. There's a way to craft it so that it's still powerful and still impactful, but you show them who you are. And the second thing is when you craft it, you, like I said, you want to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Whether you're telling the story in 30 seconds, whether you're telling a story in 3 minutes, whether you're telling a story in 10 minutes, or you're giving a whole hour-long speech. You want to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that's essential in storytelling. Every movie has a beginning, middle, and end. Every book has a beginning, middle, and end. And so should your story have a beginning and a middle and an end. And then you want to share it as often as you can just to get comfortable and people knowing who you are, um, and sharing the words that you say. You want to do things like write it down a couple of times. You want to look in the mirror and say it to yourself so that you get used to hearing it, and you deal and you're able in private to deal with any of the emotions that come up around it. So it's important that you practice sharing your story and then find some trusted people to share your story with. Maybe there's someone like I did with my ex-boyfriend who I had not shared my story with. Maybe find that person and share the story. And not from let me show you my speech type of thing, but really sit down and share it, because that authenticity, um, they'll be able to tell, and you'll be able to tell if it feels real to you as you're speaking it. So um, you want to reflect over your stories, you want to craft your story, and then you want to share it. And it's important that you do that. If you want to go deeper, I created a guide called Unlock Your Story. And there is on this page, you can find the information. Download it as my gift to you. And it just talks about the power of your story and all the possibilities that your story can bring to you. And here's the thing, I'm very, very passionate about this. This is the whole reason why I started Black Women Amplified, was to empower women just like you, who are ambitious, who are accomplished, who also might have, some roadblocks in their life that they need to get over in order to truly feel free. Um, and one thing, sharing who you are with people in an honest and authentic way, that's true freedom. That is true freedom. And it's important that we all get to a place where we're comfortable being ourselves in all the places, and all the things. I'm going to talk about my perspective on, in our next video, my perspective on imposter syndrome. So stay tuned for that. Now, make sure you like and you share this page. I am on a mission to get to 10,000 followers, 50,000 followers, 100,000 followers, and get my 40,000 hours so that I can monetize this page, because I want to be able to bring you more and more information, share more of myself and my stories. And you can also check out the podcast on this page. You can hear the stories of the women that I have interviewed, from Tanya Pinkins to Liv Warfield, who was just on America's Got Talent, to Stephanie Perry, who is the co-founder of the Exodus Summit, to many people, Reese Palmer, Chapel Hart. I've interviewed some incredible women about their stories. And it's intriguing when you sit down with another Black woman, how open we are with each other, sharing things that they have never shared before. So that's the power of storytelling. And even when I'm interviewing people, I'm aware of their story. And so I'm able to get in there. And I have an interview coming out next week with Tasha LaRae. She is the lead singer of the iconic hip hop group, Arrested Development. So I can't wait for you to hear that. But check out the interviews on the page, check out the website, check out all the things, and make sure that you like and share this out. Let a friend know there's a girl that's going to help you share your story, and she's on the Black Women Amplified YouTube page. So have an amazing evening, and I hope that you are able to apply what I've shown you today. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I will be sure to get back to you and answer them, because I know that you have a powerful story inside of you waiting to be shared with the world. Have an amazing day. Many blessings. Take care. Bye.